Él está actualmente en Doha, en Qatar, pero hace horas escapó de Kabul, Afganistán, el lugar que fue su hogar durante décadas. Bilal, hi, how are you? Welcome to Paraguay. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be with you.
Bilal, I'm going to be translating the questions, so you'll probably hear a little bit of Spanish and then some English, so we can have this conversation. Vamos a preguntarle sobre lo que hizo, escaparse de Kabul y cómo fue ese proceso que fue hace horas nada más. So, Bilal, you just left Kabul a couple of hours ago. Please take us back to that moment. How did it happen?
Over the last 24 hours, my life changed for a journey that I had never imagined. I did cover Afghanistan for the last 20 years. First, the U.S. Bombings against the Taliban in 2001, after the 9/11 attacks, then the fall of Taliban. But 20 years down the line, I covered the fall of the Afghan government into the hands of Taliban. And as I was covering the story, telling the world about it, the Taliban started showing up at my gate, various, factions of the Taliban, inquiring about me, and then the threats to my life began to emerge. I was forced to go into hiding in a city that I call home, in a city that I know it inch by inch, in a city that I love, in a city that has given me the opportunity of who I am. And then I had to basically be evacuated to Doha in Qatar. So, my dream, my life, my passion, my, friends, my family, everything is left behind. And this has happened to millions of Afghans.
Bueno, nos está contando que él está reportando desde hace décadas ya, cuando los estadounidenses bombardearon a los talibanes, y ahora que, digamos, se dio la vuelta el asunto y que los talibanes, varias facciones empezaron a aparecer en su puerta. Entonces él tuvo que esconderse y tuvo que dejar su ciudad, tuvo que dejar sus sueños, sus pasiones, y una ciudad como la de Kabul que él conoce centímetro por centímetro.
Así mismo. Le vamos a hacer esta pregunta, Rorro, y te pido por favor que lo traduzcas. Sí. Que nos cuente un poco más de los talibanes que están en control. ¿Son distintos o son los mismos de los que ya venimos escuchando desde hace años?
Bilal, could you tell us a little bit about the ones who are in charge now? These Taliban, are these the same Taliban from 20 years ago? Are they any different? What can you tell us about that?
Well, the Taliban of the 1990s was a different generation of Taliban than the Taliban that you have in 2021. I would like to divide them into three categories. The political leadership is the savvy one. They understand the importance of international legitimacy, international funding, because they have had exposure to the highest echelons of Western governments and other governments. Then you've got the military commanders, the hot-blooded, hard-headed, Al-Qaeda influenced, foreign fighters influenced fighters, commanders who have a very destructive mentality. Then you have the foot-level soldiers, thousands of them who have come from all over rural Afghanistan, who for years have been fighting some of the most deadly battles. Now they're in an urban center, where I've been able to speak to a number of them who have told me that they lost a lot of their family members too.
Bueno, nos está contando que estos talibanes son distintos a los talibanes de los 90s, que él los divide en tres categorías básicamente. Están los talibanes políticos que entienden la mediación, entienden que tienen que tener algún tipo de comunicación con los que están afuera. Sí. Después tenemos la categoría de los talibanes militares, que ya esos son los que están siempre en rojo, que están siempre con los nervios y con las ganas de estar ahí peleando. Y después tenemos a los que andan a pie, que son los que también van perdiendo sus familiares y las situaciones que se van dando hoy por hoy en Afganistán. Vamos a preguntarle sobre los afganos, los ciudadanos como él, ¿qué cambió en las últimas semanas para ellos? Bilal, let's talk a little bit about what changed for Afghans in their way of life during the past couple of months, weeks. Why are you fleeing?
Well, the Taliban are in control. They're beginning to impose their harsher ways of governing. There's a climate of fear and concern. There's intimidation. We will have to see if the Taliban can transition from fighting into governance. They are no more the shadow government. The Taliban now control most of the country. The months leading up to the fall of Kabul were some of the most bloody and uncertain months. You had very heavy and intense battles against major district centers, major provincial capitals, where hundreds and thousands of civilians were stuck. So you have a humanitarian crisis. People lost their livelihoods. People lost their crop. People lost their businesses. And then you had the mass surrenders of Afghan National Security Forces leadership in these provinces were making their own deals. When Taliban were offering surrender deals and insurance deals. And then the fall of Kabul, which no one thought would happen. We have to remember, Afghanistan was supposed to get a political settlement, not a military takeover by the Taliban. So a lot has changed. The last 20 years, Afghanistan was a different country. It started from scratch in 2001. Everything is gone. The institutions have crumbled. The security forces are gone. The air force is gone. The special forces, the commandos faced a depletion. And you have a situation where the Taliban are in control of Afghanistan again.
Bueno, nos está contando que en los últimos meses fue la caída de Afganistán y de Kabul, una crisis humanitaria, negocios que se cerraron, las fuerzas se rindieron, todas las fuerzas del orden se rindieron y que ellos en realidad estaban esperando que cuando los estadounidenses se fuesen del país iba a haber un acuerdo político, pero finalmente tuvieron los militares, los talibanes militares que tomaron la ciudad y que tomaron el país. Le quiero preguntar un ratito nomás sobre las calles.
Sí.
So, just to follow up with this question, what was happening in the streets? How were the streets? What was happening there?
Well, I was there for the fall of the city. The streets were empty. Suddenly, a city of 6 million people with traffic jams and hustle and bustle of life. It became a ghost town. Streets were empty. People were scared. We have to remember that the entire country, basically was shocked in how quickly Kabul fell to the Taliban. There's no resistance. So the city of Kabul was and is full of government officials, members of the security services, civil society, media, and people are stuck. People fear for their lives. The events of the last week or so are, unbelievable for it to be true. And as I said, Afghanistan started a journey in 2001 and sacrificed a lot to get what it had in 20 years, and all of it is gone in a matter of seconds.
Qué fuerte lo que nos está contando. Una ciudad de 6 millones de habitantes se convirtió en una ciudad fantasma porque todo colapsó y nos está contando que en el 2001 ellos veían un nuevo comienzo y que todo esto desapareció en meramente segundos.
Sí.
Qué fuerte.
Terrible la situación, las imágenes también, ¿verdad? Y están escapando. ¿Cómo escapó él?
Vamos a preguntarle eso. Exactly how did you manage to flee from Kabul in Afghanistan, Bilal?
Well, I was in my home when the threats became more and more serious. I left my home with my wife and our baby daughter Sola, which means peace. We named her after peace a few weeks ago. And with my parents, we went to an undisclosed location. And from there, we made it to the airport in midnight. And we waited for 12 hours just sitting on the ground in the heat before a Qatari Air Force plane got us to Doha. And I want to thank the Qatari government and the Qataris for saving the lives of more than 150 people, including reporters, civil society, media, young students from the American University of Afghanistan.
Bueno, nos está contando que él se escapó. Primero lo que hizo fue agarrar a su hija, que se llama Sola, que significa paz en árabe, y a su esposa y a sus papás, y se fueron hasta un lugar secreto. Esperaron 12 horas después en el aeropuerto hasta que una aerolínea catarí los pudo llevar, y que él está muy agradecido justamente con la nación de Qatar por que les salvaron la vida. Bueno, por último vamos a preguntarle cuál es el mensaje, ¿verdad? ¿Cuál es el mensaje que quiere él entregar para todos los que están viendo esto? So, finally, Bilal, what do you want the world to know about what just happened in your country?
I think a humanitarian corridor must be established to help save thousands of Afghans, including women rights activists, civil society reporters, people whose lives are at risk, and that this should be done so as long as it takes. There should not be a timeline on it, especially artificial timeline. And the world must not turn their back now on Afghanistan, because close to 18 million Afghans need food. There's poverty, there's extreme levels of poverty actually for years, which is very evident on the streets of Kabul across much of Afghanistan. And we hope that Afghanistan can have a functional state, a state that is a committed member of the international community. Otherwise, what were these sacrifices for over the last 20 years in blood and treasure?
Bueno, nos está contando que él quiere que se haga un corredor humanitario para que se pueda salvar a los que quedan, que todavía son muchos, sin una línea del tiempo artificial, o sea, sin una fecha tope como la hay ahora, que es el 31 de este mes. Tampoco que el mundo no se cierra a ellos, porque son muchísimos afganos que necesitan lo básico, comida, asilo, es lo que nos está diciendo. Y tercero, un Estado funcional. Un Estado que finalmente funcione, porque si no todos los sacrificios de todos estos años fueron en vano. Qué gusto poder hablar con él.
Qué gusto, y que esté a salvo, ¿no?
Sí,
que haya podido escapar de eso y con su familia.
Totalmente, vamos a agradecerle por el tiempo. Bilal, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We wish you the best to you and your family, and we are so happy that you are safe right now in Doha, Qatar. So thank you very much, and Godspeed.
Good talk to you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Venus Media, siempre con vos.